Hi, welcome to this presentation of the Germanium Selector Builder. The Germanium Selector Builder is a point-and-click selector builder. What it means is we can actually go ahead and pick on an element and we will have the selector written for us. We can already see the selector that we would need to use in our test. Furthermore, we can just go ahead and pick other elements and we will have new entries in this editor written for us. We can go ahead and pick the menu. We can go ahead and pick a link. Now, as you noticed, for example, this selector got a bit more complicated. The reason is the selector builder will try to find out the best selector that matches the exact element you clicked and will try to filter out duplicate matches. There is another Gmail link in the page. You might not know it, but it's part of the DOM and it's in here actually. So even if it's not visible, your test might still match on that one, and the Germanium Selector Builder made sure that this is not the case. If we would have picked, for example, the builder element, which means images, condition on the link, the reason is the builder is a single link in the page, so it doesn't match multiple ones. But let's assume now that in our test, at the time it was written, we had a single Gmail link. So when we actually don't have this one, what's happening? How can we identify what's the problem? Well, here we go to this awesome button in here called blink. When we press it, we're going to run the selector against the HTML page that we have, and all the matched elements will also be logged into the console. So what's happening now? We have this element that we know this is the element we actually want to match, and we have the other element which we now know it's in here in this panel, and this is the other Gmail link. But using the blink functionality, we can actually match and find out where the elements are in our HTML page. Further, we can then go ahead and edit it and find out what would be the best selector for us. As you can see, just using the point and click allows us to immediately get selectors that match a single element and allow us to create the test with ease. But let's assume we want to go now and pick an icon from the menu we have in here. If we would just try to do a pick on a random icon, let's say the YouTube icon, you'll notice that the Germanium Selector Builder will tell us that it found 21 elements on the last pick. If we try to highlight them, we'll notice that most of our icons are actually matching those elements, but we want to click the YouTube icon. What we can do now is we can use one of the pro functionalities, which is find elements with references. In order to do that, we go from the element that we want picked. So in this case, this is the YouTube icon. So we will click on the icon and then we click on the other element, which is our reference. What's happening is the Germanium Selector Builder creates an XPath selector that uses our reference element and navigates to the element we want to pick for the actual interaction. So if we're going to highlight it, we will see that we have a single match this time, and this is our YouTube icon. Now this is the main functionality of the Germanium Selector Builder. Of course, we can just go ahead and write in our own selectors by hand. So for example, if we would have it in our test, let's say we have the input, and then in there we have the attribute name as being equals to Q. This is exactly the first as in here. You'll notice that we can still highlight them just fine, and they are still matching to our input. So we can actually go ahead and debug selectors, including, for example, trying to parameterize selectors so they match on any kind of icon. Like in here, we can just change it to a Gmail, and we can just try it out. So we get this capability of investigating why aren't our selectors working in the test by visually highlighting them, by just editing them on and on until we get what we actually want and then plug it back into our test case. I hope you find this useful, and I want to thank you for choosing the Germanium Selector Builder.